Good morning, students. This is lecture number 4 for chapter number 7, Ivan's Tries an O Level, written by Colin Dexter, for class 12th, subject English, book Vistas. Children, as I have already delivered 3 lectures of this chapter, and today, in this lecture number 4, I shall recapitulate what I taught you in lecture number 3, and then we shall proceed further from page number 82 to 85. Is it clear? So today we shall cover this chapter from page 82 to 85, and before proceeding with these pages, I will make you recapitulate what I taught you in lecture number 3 of chapter number 7, Ivan's Tries an O Level. So let's begin the lecture with the recapitulation of lecture number 3. So children, here is the recapitulation of lecture number 3, in which Evans complained about Stephen's presence in the cell. He said if someone in his cell keeps on staring at him, then he would not be taking his examination in proper manner. Therefore, he said that Evans should go out of his cell. And the governor also thought that he was overdoing the things. Therefore, he agreed to the complaint of Evans, and he asked Stephens to sit outside of his cell. Then the exam started and governor received a call. First he doubted as if the call was fake, but then he thought no, it might be original call also. Therefore he spoke to the caller and he got to know the call was from Board of Examination, in which there was a correction made for Evans in his examination. And the governor thought of his old days as a student because he had also studied German in his 6th standard, right? And then Stephen's observations we talked about, in which we read that Stephen was very much observed and he was not taking any chance, and he was peeping through the peephole every minute in the first initial hour. Then after some time he was relaxed and he observed the situation in the cell was almost the same all the time. Right? He found that the McClary, the invigilator, was sitting in his chair and he was wearing his heavy spectacles, and all the time he was reading his newspaper Church Times, and his one finger was moving in his beard and the second one was there on his collar. Right. And he found Evans was chewing the pen tip all the time and looking into the question paper. So he found that the situation was all time same, and he got little relaxed also after half an hour or 1 hour, that he started taking a break before he peeped into the hole. Then meanwhile Evans requested for a blanket because he said there was little paki, means little cold there, and he wanted to wrap himself with the blanket that was lying on his bunk. Then Evans was permitted by his invigilator McClary to do the same. And when Stephen peeped into the hole, he was also doubtful when he saw Evans with blanket, right? And Stephens was ordered at last of the examination. Stephens was ordered by the governor to see off McClary to the prison gate, right? And Stephens felt very happy that though he was a junior officer, still the governor asked him, gave him this privilege to see off the invigilator to the main prison gate, and he felt very proud on this. Right? Finally, Ivan's exam was over at 11:25. Okay, and then Stephens was not sure of locking the cell. Then he thought it is better to go to the cell again before he went for a belated cup of coffee. And he wanted to confirm whether all the things were okay and whether the cell was locked by him or not properly, right? Then he was shocked to see that the when he peeped into the cell, he was shocked to see there was someone bleeding badly, and he shouted, right? It was a horrible scene for him to see that the blood was spreading over the white clerical collar and down into the black clerical front. and he found that there was red blood all over the person sitting in the cell. So this was the end of the relaxation of Stephens, and he did not have his cup of tea but a cup of coffee, but he got again doubtful that what had happened in his absence there, and he had seen that McClary off very carefully outside the prison cell, and when he came in and he peeped into the cell the last time, he was very much shocked to see that the person was bleeding in the chair. So children, here our lecture number 3 completed, and now we will proceed further with lecture number 4 from page number 82 onwards. So children, now we are reading the very first paragraph on page number 82, in which we will read about McClary, who was found bleeding by Stephens. Stephen shouted wildly for Jackson, and the words appeared to penetrate the curtain of blood that veiled McClary's ears, for the minister's hand felt feebly, feebly means weakly, for a handkerchief from his pocket, and he held it to his bleeding hand. The blood seeping slow through the white linen, he gave a long, low moan. Moan means to cry in pain, right? That is moan. So, a long, low moan and tried to speak, but his voice trailed away. Trail means stream, right? His voice streamed away. And by the time Jackson had arrived and dispatched Stephens to ring the police and the ambulance, the handkerchief was a sticky, squelchy wad of clothes. Squelchy means a soft sucking sound that made when pressure is applied to liquid or mud. Right? So what we studied here, that Stephen shouted for Jackson. Children, here is a twist in the story. Stephen himself went to, bid by to McClary outside the main prison gate. And when he came in to peep for the last time in Ivan's cell, he found McClary sitting and bleeding in the chair. Here is a twist. You would think that when he himself dropped McClary outside the prison gate, then who was he sitting there in the chair and bleeding badly? How did Stephens think that McClary was sitting here? Then to whom had he dropped outside the prison gate? So in these lines, in this paragraph, we have studied that Stephen shouted for Jackson so loudly that even McClary, whose ear was filled with blood, was able to hear it. Right? The churchman, who was the churchman? McClary, that was weakly searching for a hanky to stop the blood that was flowing from his head. The hanky also got soaked in the blood. He cried out of pain. He tried to speak but couldn't do so. By the time Jackson came and ordered Stephens to call the police and the ambulance, the hanky got fully soaked in blood, and now it was making a soft sucking sound when pressure was applied to it. Children, now we'll read about there was a lot of movement in the prison. We are reading on the same page number 82, second paragraph. McClary slowly raised himself, his face twisted tightly with pain. Don't worry about the ambulance man. I'm right. I'm all right. Get the police. I know where he. He closed his eyes and another drip of blood splashed. Splashed means fell down, a dashing sound of liquid, right? That is called splash. So another drip of blood splashed like a huge red raindrop on the wooden floor. His hand felt along the table, found the German question paper, and grasped it tightly. Grasped means he gripped it very tightly in his blood-stained hand. Get the governor. I know where he wants. Almost immediately, sirens were sounding. Right? Sirens means the bells, the ringing sounds, right? The alarms. They were sounding. Prison officers barked orders. Puzzled prisoners pushed their way along the corridors. Doors were banged and bolted. Right? And phones were ringing everywhere. And within a minute, McClary with Jackson and Stephen supporting him on the either side, his face now streaked. Streaked means lined. Lined and caked with drying blood, was greeted in the prison yard by the governor, perplexed and grim. Perplexed means puzzled, grim means distant. Right? So, what's written in these lines? That McClary somehow raised himself and he told them that they need not to worry about him as he was fine. He asked for the governor as he knew where Evans had gone. The blood was splashing down from his head while he was trying hard to pick up the German question paper. All of a sudden, there was massive sound of sirens, alarms. Officers were giving away orders. Doors were being opened and shut and phones were ringing. Stephens and Jackson's supported McClary to the governor's office. His face was coated with dry blood when he saw when he was greeted by the governor at the prison yard. The governor looked very puzzled. He felt very bad, very sorry that the person who came to invigilate the examination in his cell was found badly injured. Now we will read. McClary wanted to give governor the clue of Evans. So, page number 82 only. We must get you to hospital immediately. I just don't. You have called the police? Yes, they are on their way. But I'm all right. I'm all right. Look here. Awkwardly. Awkwardly means uneasily. Awkwardly means uneasily. He opened the German question paper and thrust it. Thrust means push it. Push it before the governor's face. It's there. Do you see what I mean? The governor looked down and realized what McClary was trying to tell him. A photocopied sheet had been carefully and cleverly superimposed. Superimposed means place over another. Right? It was superimposed over the last original blank paper or page of the question paper. You see what they have done, Governor, you see. His voice trailed off. Right? And as the governor, dredging the layers of the long neglected learning, willed himself to translate the German text before him. Dredged means clear. Right. So what we studied, the governor wanted to take McClary to the hospital, but McClary insisted on calling the police. He then opened up the German question paper and pushed it towards the governor as he wanted to show him something important. The governor noticed that a photocopied sheet was cleverly laid on the blank space of the question paper. The governor tried to recall what he had learnt in his German classes as he was willing to translate the text himself. As children, you know, the governor himself realized his own school days in which he told us that he also studied German language in his 6th class. So therefore, he wanted to translate the German text. Now children, we are on page number 83 in which we will read the plan for Evans to execute. Right? So the governor decided to translate the German text before him, and it is Sei sollen dens colon under Devin plan gone false. This is all written in German. Then it's written, you must follow the plan already something. The vital point in time is 3 minutes before the end of the examination, but something. Don't hit him too hard. Remember, he's a minister, and don't overdo the Scots accent when a fast approaching siren wailed to its crescendo. Crescendo means the loudest point of a sound. The great doors of the prison yard were pushed back and a white police car squealed. Squealed means screamed to a jerky halt beside them. Detective Superintendent Carter swung himself out of the passenger seat and saluted the governor. What the hell's happening, sir? And turning to McClary, Christ, who has hit him? Detective means investigator and superintendent means supervisor. Now children, one more character is introduced, that is Carter. Carter was detective superintendent who had come to HM prison as needed by the governor in order to solve the query, the case of Evans. Right. So what's written in these lines? The governor tried to translate it. He was only able to translate it partly. He couldn't translate it wholly. So it was written that everything should go by the plan, and the important thing was that he had to do this all just 3 minutes before the end of the examination. He was told to hit on McClary's head and was warned for not overdoing his Scottish accent. Meanwhile, the sound of a fast moving siren reached its highest point and a white police car entered into the yard. It was Detective Superintendent Carter who waved out from his car and saluted the governor. He queried about what had happened and looked worried when he asked as to who has hit this churchman, because the churchman, McClary, was bleeding badly. Now let's continue. We are on page number 83 only. Somewhere in the mid, you see in your book. But McClary cut across whatever explanation the governor might have given. Elsfield Way, officer. I know, where Evans. He was breathing heavily and leaned for support against the side of the car, where the imprint of his hand was left in tarnished crimson. Tarnished means stained, crimson is dark red. In bewilderment means confusion, Carter looked to the governor for guidance. What? Take him with you. If you think he'll be all right, he is the only one who seems to know what's happening. Carter opened the back door and helped McClary inside, and within a few seconds the car leaped away in a spurt of gravel. Spurt means spray and gravel means stones, right? So what we have studied in these lines, let me explain you. It's McClary interrupts in between and said that Evans had gone to Elsfield. You need to understand the word, the name of the place, right? Only McClary told them that Evans had gone to Elsfield and he was breathing heavily when he told so. Carter looked very confused and tried to seek clarity from the governor. The governor told him to take McClary along, as only McClary knew where Evans had gone. Carter helped McClary sit inside, and within a few seconds, the car sprayed the little stones behind it. This means the car left the place at a great speed. Children, now McClary had gone with Carter in his van to find Evans, and now the governor would realize his mistake. Elsfield Way. I am reading on page number 83, last paragraph. Elsfield Way, McClary had said, and there it was staring up at the governor from the last few lines of the German text. From Elsfield Way, drive to the Headington roundabout, where, yes, of course, the examinations board was in Elsfield Way, and someone from the board must have been involved in the escape plan from the very beginning. The question paper itself, the correction slip. The governor turned to Jackson and Stephens. I don't need to tell you what has happened, do I? His voice sounded almost calm in its scathing. Scathing means very harsh. Contempt. Contempt means dislike. And which one of you two morons, morons means stupid persons, was it who took Evans for a nice little walk to the main gates and waved him bye-bye? It was me, sir, stammered Stephens. He mummed. Just like you told me, sir, I could have sworn. What? Just like I told you, you say? What the hell? When you rang, sir, and told me to. When was that? The governor's voice was whiplash now. Whiplash means very fast, right? You know, sir, about 20 past 11, just before. You blithering idiot. Blithering means full of hatred. Idiot man. It wasn't me who rang you. Don't you realize? But what was the use? He had used the telephone at that time, but only to try unsuccessfully once more to get through to the examinations board. So, here the governor has realized his mistake. That we can understand. The governor recalled that McClary had said Elsfield Way. He started reading the text again and discovered it was a route towards the examination board. He then concluded that somebody from the examination board had helped Evans this time. He then turned towards Jackson and Stephens and scolded them in a very insulting manner to help Eva and asked who helped Evans walking out of the prison. Stephens mumbled that it was he who did it because the governor himself had ordered him to do so. Governor got surprised to hear this, and he said that he never did that. He never ordered Stephens to drop McClary or Evans out of the gate. Stephens tells him the time when he called him. The governor once again scolded them for not understanding that it was a fake call. He then realized that it was of no use as it was he who had called the examination board with a failed attempt. Right? Here the governor has realized his mistake that he called or he did not understand that was a fake call, and Stephens also attended a fake call in which he was ordered to drop McClary to the main prison gate. And to whom had he dropped outside? It was Evans, because according to them, the injured McClary was with Carter in his van now. Children, now in next paragraph on page number 84 only, we will be reading Jackson was scolded for being overconfident by the governor. Now, he shook his head in growing despair and turned on the senior prison officer. Despair means hopelessness. This was the hopelessness of the governor. And then he turned on the senior prison officer. As you know, senior prison officer is Jackson. As for you, Jackson, how long have you been pretending you have got a brain? Well, I'll tell you something. Jackson, your skull is empty. Absolutely empty. It was Jackson who had spent 2 hours in Evans' cell the previous evening. And it was Jackson who had confidently reported that there was nothing hidden away there, nothing at all. And yet Evans had somehow managed to conceal. Conceal means hide. Not only a false beard, a pair of spectacles, a dog collar, and all the rest of the clerical paraphernalia. Paraphernalia means things of daily use. But also some sort of weapon with which he had given McClary such a terrible blow across the head. Right? In which, children, you would have seen the governor was growing hopelessness, and he started scolding senior prison officer Jackson for being so overconfident about his abilities. He had spent 2 hours checking Evans' cell and had declared it to be all okay. But recently was that Evans was able to hide a false beard, spectacles, and other clerical stuff inside his cell somewhere. He also had a weapon which he had used to hit McClary in such a terrible way that he was bleeding so badly. And now there was a question, from where did he arrange false beard, clerical dog collar, and all the stuff that he needed to look like McClary? So now, children, after scolding Jackson, the prison officer, the senior prison officer, the governor decoded the message. Decoded means he tried to read the message again, right? So we are reading here on page number 84. A prison van backed alongside. This is the last paragraph on page number 84, I remind you. A prison van backed alongside, but the governor made no immediate move. He looked down again at the last line of the German. To the Headington roundabout, where you go straight over and make your way to New Graben. New Graben? Where on earth? New means something. New grave. Never heard of it. There was a war grave somewhere near Reading, but no, it was probably a code word. Or then it hit him. Newbury. Yes, God, yes, Newbury. It was pretty big sort of place. But he rapped out his orders to the driver. Rapped means spoke loudly. He spoke loudly his orders to the driver. Send Eldate's police station and step on it. Take Jackson's and Stephens here, and when you get there, ask for Bell. Bell, Chief Inspector Bell. Got that? Now there is one more character introduced here whose name is Bell, who is Chief Inspector. Where? At St. Eldate's police station. Right. So the prison van came behind, but the governor did not move at all. He again looked at the German text and he tried to decode it. The word written, it meant new grave. He tried hard to find the place and then finally decoded it to a Newbury. He had got the place where Evans had escaped to. He then ordered the drivers to take Evans and Stephens to St. Eldate's. He ordered the driver to take Jackson and Stephens to St. Eldate's police station, and he also instructed them to ask for Chief Inspector Bell on reaching at the police station. Right? And now he started moving because he had decoded the message on the German question paper. Children, after decoding the question paper, the governor himself appreciated Ivan's plan. What was that actually? Let's read. It's on page number 85, the second para. He leaped the stairs to his office three at a time, got Bell on the phone immediately, and put the facts before him. We'll get him, sir, said Bell. We'll get him, with a bit of luck. The governor sat back and lit a cigarette. Yes, gods, what a beautiful laid plan it had all been. What a clever fellow Evans was. Careless leaving the question paper behind, but then they all made their mistakes somewhere along the line. Well, almost all of them. And that's why very shortly Mr. Clever Evans would be back inside doing his once more. So here, Governor jumped the stairs to his office and called up Bell because he had ordered Jacksons and Stephens to go to Bell in St. Eldate's police station, and Bell was chief inspector there. Right, he called him and explained the entire situation to him. Bell said that he will be able to catch him with some good luck. The governor sat on his chair and started thinking while he lit up his cigarette. He thought that it was a nice plan, but felt that Evans was careless to leave the question paper behind him, because it was only the leftover question paper that had given them clue. He then admitted that all of them made mistakes like Evans, and then reassured him that this mistake of Evans would again bring him back to the prison. So children, let's proceed further. Now we will study how Carter found Evans and then lost also. Right? We are on page number 85, para number 3. The phone on his desk erupted. Erupted means burst out. In a strident burst. Strident means loud or harsh, you may say. In a strident burst, burst means rang loudly, and Superintendent Carter informed the governor, him means governor, that McClary had spotted Evans driving off along Elsfield Way. They had got the number of the car all right and had given chase immediately, but had lost him at the Headington roundabout. He must have doubled back into the city. No, said the governor quietly. No, he is on his way to Newbury. He explained his reason for believing so, and left it at that. It was a police job now, not his. He was just another good for a giggle. Good for a giggle means for a laugh. Gullible governor, that was all. Gullible means over-trusted governor. Right? By the way, Carter, I hope you managed to get McClary to the hospital, alright? Now children, here what we have studied. Once again the phone rang off the governor with a harsh sound on his desk. Carter informed him that McClary had spotted Evans in a car at Elsfield Way. You remember that Carter was carrying McClary with him because it was ordered by governor to take McClary along because he was the man who would guide him and who knew who Evans was, so he would help Carter to find Evans. Right? Now the same person, Carter, who was superintendent, he called up governor and he said that they had spotted Evans in a car at Elsfield Way, and they chased him as they had noted down his number also, the number of his car, but soon lost him at Headington roundabout. The governor informed Carter that Evans was on his way to Newbury. He then explained as to why he thinks he is going towards Newbury, and then leaves it all on the police, as according to him his job was done. He had already become a laughing stock for others for being trustful person. He also then inquired about McClary being taken to hospital or not, because he was worried that the person named McClary, who was the invigilator of the examination, was bleeding badly. Now let's proceed further, and we are on page number 85 somewhere at last. Yes, he is in the Redcliffe now. Redcliffe, really groggy. Groggy means very weak, unable to walk. He was when he got to the examinations offices and then rang for the ambulance from there. The governor rang the Redcliffe a few minutes later and asked for the accident department. What is this Radcliffe? Radcliffe is the name of the hospital where Carter dropped McClary. McClary, you say? Yes, he's a parson. Parson means churchman. I don't think there is anyone. Yes, there is. You'll find one of your ambulances picked him up from Elsfield way about. Oh, that. Yes, we sent an ambulance all right. But when we got there, the fellow had gone. No one seemed to know where he was, just vanished, not a sign. Vanished means disappeared. So here there is one more twist in the story. McClary dropped Carter dropped McClary at Redcliffe Hospital, right? He in fact dropped him somewhere at the Elsfield Way, and he rang up the ambulance in the hospital, that is Redcliffe, and he told them that there was an injured person. So what did the governor do now? Carter said that he had been taken to Redcliffe Hospital. Who had been taken to Redcliffe Hospital? McClary, the injured McClary. He also told the governor that McClary had grown very weak, and when they took him to the examination office, he was not even able to walk. So they rang up for the ambulance from there, and the governor, in order to confirm, called in the hospital and inquired about the injured person. And in reply, he got the answer from the hospital people that they had sent the ambulance to bring the patient, but when they reached there, they found no one standing there at Elsfield Way to whom they had to bring the hospital for further treatment. Now this is another twist. Where had the injured McClary gone? I assign you homework now, that you people are supposed to read the chapter from page number 82 to 85 thoroughly. Unless you read it, you will not understand it at all. So it's better to take interest in understanding what's written in the text, because it's very interesting chapter full of adventure, and in which there is mystery by mystery to be resolved by the governor of HM prison. So I hope you are enjoying studying this chapter. So all the best. Stay home, stay happy.